My name is Dorothy Caldwell. I'm 63 years old. For 24 years, I worked the front desk at Hawthorne Cove Resort and Marina. People around here call the Cove the 100-year jewel of the coast. Pretty postcard, white wicker chairs on the porch, sailboats out past the windows. I checked guests in, sorted their keys, recommended the lobster bisque. That was my whole job. But on Saturday morning last week, a man I had been waiting on for 24 years walked through my front door, and I had no idea. Not until our young valet, a quiet kid named Tomas, came up behind me and pointed at the watch on the man's wrist. That night, I did something I should have done a long time ago, and the truth about who really owned the Hawthorne Cove broke open in front of 63 people in evening dress. Stay with me. Let me back up to Friday evening, because something happened then that I still can't fully explain. It was around 7 o'clock. The lobby was empty. I was at the desk, finishing the weekend roster, when a booking slipped into the queue. Ashford, party of 4, Saturday brunch and gala. No member number attached, no card on file, just a name. I searched the system. Twice. There was no member family named Ashford in our records. Not in the active list, not in the lapsed file, not in the legacy archive. Right then, Mr. Whitlock walked past behind me. Lawrence Whitlock. Larry to the staff who liked him. Mr. Whitlock to the ones who didn't. He'd been general manager for 19 years. He had silver hair and a tan you only got from standing on a tee box at noon. He glanced at my screen over my shoulder and clicked his tongue. Scrub that one. Dot. Junk reservation. Nobody by that name. I said, "Yes, sir. I didn't scrub it. I don't know why." My finger hovered over the delete key for a full minute. Then I just closed the tab and walked away. I drove home still thinking about that booking. I went to bed thinking about it. I want you to remember that detail. It matters more than I knew at the time. Saturday morning, 11:28. I was at the desk, watching the rain start and stop, when a black SUV pulled up to the front portico. Nothing fancy, just a clean, quiet ride. A man stepped out of the driver's side. Plain old khakis, a faded blue polo, sneakers that had seen a few miles. He wore a navy ball cap pulled low and a wristwatch that looked older than him. He helped his wife out of the passenger side. She was tall, with kind eyes and a tote bag slung on one shoulder. The back doors open. Their son climbed out first. Big kid, college football shoulders, 22 years old maybe, with a quiet, watchful face. Then their daughter stepped out. She was 19, slim, holding a cello case like a baby in her arm. She kept one hand on the latch, as if the case might pop open if she breathed wrong. I noticed all of this because that's what concierges do. We notice. Out front, Tomas greeted them at the steps. I watched him smile, then catch a glimpse of something on the man's wrist. He paused for half a beat, a real, full second. Then he picked up the suitcases and kept moving. I didn't think much of it then. They walked through the double doors and stopped in front of the lobby's main portrait. A tall oil painting of a stern white man in a black coat, brass plaque underneath. L.T. Hartwell, founder, 1924. The father glanced up at the portrait. He looked at it for a long, long moment. Then he turned to his wife and said something soft I couldn't hear. She just squeezed his hand. "I want to tell you something now that I should have spoken about years ago. That portrait? Something about that picture has always sat funny with me. The frame is from the 1920s. The painting inside it is not. The seam where they patched it together is rough if you stand close enough. I noticed it my second week on the job. Nobody ever asked me about it, so I never asked. Hold that thought too." The family approached my desk. The father took off his ball cap, polite as church. "Ashford, party of 4, brunch and the gala tonight. Our daughter's the opening solo." I pulled up the booking. Still there. I smiled and started printing their welcome cards. Before I could finish, Cordelia Vance came up beside me. She's our head of membership, Cordelia. 11 years on the job. Hair in a perfect bun. Lipstick the color of dried blood. She has a way of standing too close to people she doesn't like. She put a hand on my keyboard. The printer stopped. "I'll handle this one, Dorothy." She turned to the family. "Good morning. Could I see your invitation, please? I don't have you on the verified list." The daughter unzipped the small pocket on her cello case. She lifted out a thick cream envelope. The gold seal on the back caught the lobby light. She handed it over with both hands. Cordelia took it. She looked at the seal. She tilted the card. She turned it over. She turned it back. Then she set it on the counter between them, face down, like it was a parking ticket. "This format is no longer recognized." The daughter blinked. "It's dated 3 months ago. Mr. Hartwell signed it himself. Mr. Hartwell is no longer with the property." Current management cannot honor older booking formats. 3 months. That date stuck in my head later. 3 months ago is also when something else happened at this resort, something I didn't know yet. The father didn't argue. He just said, "Could we have the card back, please?" Cordelia slid it across the marble, slow, like she was doing him a big favor. Right then, Bradley Whitlock walked past. Assistant manager, 28, the general manager's son. He'd been hired 6 years ago, fresh out of a small business school upstate. 8 complaints from staff in 3 years. Promoted twice. He glanced down at the father's sneakers. He let his lip curl. Members usually dress for the occasion, sir. Friendly as a knife. The father looked up at him, calm. "My daughter is performing tonight, son. I drove 4 hours. I'll change before the gala. Right now, my family would like brunch." Bradley didn't move. He waited for Cordelia. Cordelia waited for someone else. 2 seconds later, Larry Whitlock came down the staircase. He was already in a dark suit, gala ready. He saw the family at the desk and smiled. That smile of his, I'd watched it work on people for 19 years. Warm on the outside, locked tight on the inside. He crossed the lobby in long, easy steps. "Folks, I think there's been a mix-up. This week's gala is restricted to long-standing members and their personal guests. Maybe you saw something online and meant to call ahead. We can recommend a wonderful diner 2 miles down the road." The mother spoke first. "I want you to remember that, because in stories like this, you'd expect the husband to do it. He didn't. She did. My name is Vivienne Ashford. Our reservation has been confirmed. Our daughter has been booked to open the gala. We have the signed invitation. I'd like you to look us up in the system, please." Her voice was steady, not sharp, just steady, like a porch light that doesn't flicker. Larry's smile widened. "Ma'am, I've been at the helm of this property for 19 years. The member roster lives in my head. There is no Ashford on it. We're not on the member roster. We are on the performance roster. They're different lists," Cordelia coughed. "Tiny." Larry didn't look at her. He didn't look at me either. He kept his eyes on Vivienne. "Ma'am, I'm trying to do you a courtesy here." Out in the lobby, Tomas came back through with the family's bags. He set them down by the bell stand. He glanced again at the father's wrist as he passed. The watch face caught the light for 1 full second. Then Tomas walked very fast into the back corridor. "Okay, hold on. I need to stop right here for a second. If you've ever worked the front of any business, restaurant, hotel, retail, hospital intake, anywhere there are doors and customers, you know the feeling I'm about to describe. It's the feeling in your stomach when you can tell your boss is about to do something you're going to wish you'd stopped. Not yet, but soon, within the next 10 minutes, your hands get cold, your back gets warm. You make yourself useful. You sort paper that doesn't need sorting. That feeling hit me at 11:32 on Saturday morning. I'm 63 years old. I've felt it before. Twice in 2007, once in 2014, a few smaller times in between. I have a notebook in the bottom drawer of the front desk. Cloth cover. I started it my second year. 24 years of small entries in tiny handwriting about things I saw and couldn't fix. I almost reached for it then. I almost said something. I didn't. Hold that detail, too, because in about an hour, I'm going to do something I should have done in 1998. And the only reason I'll be able to do it is because of the kind of person Tomas Reyes is. Watch. Okay, back to the lobby. "Look," Larry said. He took half a step closer to the father. "I don't want to make a scene. Neither do you. I'm sure you're good people. But this is a gala for our community. Members, their families, long-standing relationships. You can understand that." The father didn't answer right away. He just slowly buttoned his cap into his back pocket, like he wanted both his hands free. His wife looked at him. Some kind of unspoken thing passed between them. "Mr. Whitlock," she said, "we are not asking you to make an exception. We are asking you to look us up. Try the spelling. Ashford. 3 months back. Lloyd Hartwell signed the invitation himself." Larry held her gaze. "Ma'am, with all respect, after 19 years on this property, my eye is calibrated. There is no Ashford on this roster, in this lobby, or in our community. We're done here." There it was. I need to take you somewhere else for a moment. 12 years ago, 2014, the first time I almost quit this job. There's a storage room down in the basement. Old electrical room, big iron door, half rust. I'd been the only one with the spare key for a long time. One day in October, Mr. Whitlock came to my desk. He set a memo on the counter. The board had decided to clean out the storage. 6 items on the list. Item 4, old portrait, basement east wall, oil on canvas, dispose of properly. I knew exactly which portrait it was. I'd seen it the first month I worked there. Big canvas, older man, salt and pepper hair, soft eyes, the dock and the original Hawthorne Cove behind him, no awnings yet. The brass plate on the bottom was scratched but readable if you held a flashlight close. Founder, 1924. The name on the plate was not L.T. Hartwell. I didn't ask Mr. Whitlock who'd painted it, or who the man was, or why a founder portrait was being disposed of like dirty linens. I asked one question. I said, "Would you mind signing the memo, sir? For my records?" He looked at me a long time. He didn't sign it. He said, "Just take care of it, Dot." That afternoon, I went down to the storage room with a tarp and a roll of butcher paper. I wrapped the portrait. I carried it home in the trunk of my car. I put it in the back of my coat closet behind my late husband's golf bag. I'd been waiting for someone to come ask me about it for 12 years. Hold that detail. We're coming back to it. Back to the lobby. Larry's words still hanging there. No Ashford in our community. The father heard him say it. He didn't react. He didn't even shift his weight. His daughter held her cello case tighter against her stomach. Over at the bar, a woman in a peach blazer set down her mimosa. Her name was Lorraine Van Buren, member since 2003, husband on the board until last year. She picked up her phone and angled it casually toward the front desk. The red record dot was already on. She typed something fast with her thumbs. I saw the words, "Wait till you see this one," appear in a caption box. Then she went live. I saw it because the screen was reflected in the brass lamp behind her. She zoomed in on the daughter's face. The son spoke for the first time then. His name was Darius. 22 years old, linebacker shoulders. Quiet voice. "Sir, could you please check the booking system for our family before we continue this conversation? My mother gave you the spelling." Larry didn't even look at him. "Young man, I'm speaking to your parents. Wait your turn." Darius did not respond. He just took one step closer to his sister. Right then, Brock Doyle, our security supervisor, drifted in from the side hallway. Big guy, buzz cut, two-tone radio on his belt. He didn't say anything. He just stood about 3 feet away and folded his hands in front of him, the way bouncers stand right before they decide it's time to bounce. Larry turned back to Vivienne. "Ma'am, last courtesy. The doors are right there. Take the family, take the lunch case, and have a quiet drive home. I don't want to involve security. I really don't." Then, slow, like he was making a joke for the watching tables, he tilted his head toward the cello case in the daughter's arms. "What's in there, young lady? Sandwiches?" Her cheeks went pink. "Just a touch." She straightened her back. She lifted the case onto the marble counter, careful, like she was setting down a sleeping child. She popped the latches. She lifted out a cello, honey brown wood, faint scuffs on the lower bout, where her knee had rested through 10,000 hours of practice. She also lifted out something else, a heavy leather portfolio, hand-stitched, worn at the corners. She set it next to the cello. "My compositions, sir. 7 years of work. I'm performing the first one tonight. I'd be happy to show you the score." Larry looked at the portfolio. He looked at her. He looked at the bar, where Lorraine's phone was glowing. He smiled. He picked up a half-empty martini glass off the corner of the front desk. It had been sitting there since the bar staff cleared a guest 20 minutes earlier, a wedge of lemon floating in clear gin and vermouth. He held the glass at chest height. He took one small step closer. Then he tilted his wrist. I knew what he was going to do half a second before he did it. I almost lunged across the counter to stop him. I didn't. That is the part of myself I have to carry now. That half second of not moving. The glass tipped. The vermouth poured onto the portfolio in a slow, clear ribbon. It soaked the top page. It bled through the binding. The ink under the first measure began to feather. "Oh," Larry said. "Whoops." He smiled when he said it. The lobby went still. The kind of still that doesn't have a sound. Bar glasses unmoving. Brass clock unticking. 60 long seconds of brunch service held in suspension. The daughter looked at the soaked portfolio. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She drew in one long breath through her nose. I saw Tomas in the back corridor, frozen, half-turned toward the front office. Larry was still smiling. He had no idea that somewhere on the wrist he was now wiping with a cocktail napkin. The man he'd just provoked was wearing a watch that was about to end his career. He had no idea that, behind the front desk, a 63-year-old concierge was about to remember the contents of her coat closet. And he had no idea that, 4 miles offshore on a sailboat with the radio on, the chairwoman of the brand-new board had just received a text message and was already turning the boat around. I'll tell you what happened in the next 8 minutes, but you need to brace yourself first. Because the next time Larry Whitlock smiled in this lobby was about 30 seconds before he stopped smiling for good. The daughter looked up at Larry. Slow, calm. "Sir." The notes are still in my head. You didn't get that part. That sentence, I want you to write it down somewhere. Tape it to your bathroom mirror. Send it to the person in your life who's been told their work doesn't matter. Because that single line in a quiet lobby in coastal Maryland was the bravest thing I'd heard in 24 years on the job. Larry blinked. Once, the smile flickered. The mother stepped forward. She picked up the soaked portfolio with both hands, pages dripping. She pulled a folded silk scarf out of her tote, wrapped the portfolio in it gentle as a newborn, and tucked it into the bag. She didn't say a word to Larry. Not yet. She just looked at him. Held him there. He shifted his weight. Brock Doyle saw his moment. He stepped in. He put a flat hand on the daughter's shoulder. Time to go, miss. The son moved fast. He came around the front of the desk and put himself between Brock and his sister. He did not raise a hand. He did not raise his voice. Sir, that is my sister. Please remove your hand from her shoulder right now. Brock's hand stayed, tightened. The son didn't move. He just kept staring. And here's what I will remember forever about that boy. His feet were squared like a fighter, but his hands were open, both palms loose at his sides, visible. He was making sure every camera in this lobby could see he was not the threat. Brock's hand finally lifted. Slow, but it lifted. Right then, Bradley Whitlock drifted around behind the family. I saw it happen. He moved past the daughter fast, and his shoulder caught the edge of her cello case. The case knocked into her elbow. Her elbow knocked into the doorframe behind her. Her body hit the wood with a soft thump, just enough force to mark a bruise tomorrow. Bradley kept walking. "Excuse me," he said, breezy, like he'd brushed past a stranger on a sidewalk. I watched the daughter's eyes close for one full second. Not in pain, in something deeper. The kind of close that says, I remember this. Then Larry pulled a phone from his suit pocket. You have 1 minute to walk out of my lobby, or I am calling the county sheriff and reporting 4 trespassers harassing my staff. I have 11 members at the bar who saw it. Pick what you want, folks. The father reached into his pocket. For the first time all morning, he didn't pull out a wallet. He didn't pull out an ID. He didn't pull out his cap. He pulled out a phone. He held it down by his hip. He angled the camera up toward his own wrist. He took one quick photo. He typed 3 words. He hit send. Then he put the phone back in his pocket. Larry watched him do it. He laughed. Posting that to social media won't help, sir. I run my own social media. Right then, Tomas came back through the lobby. He was carrying nothing this time, just walking. His path took him close to the father's right side. He slowed. He stopped. He looked, for the first time, directly at the wristwatch. I saw the watch face clear as day. Polished steel case, patina on the leather strap, a small engraving along the bezel that read CA 1924. Tomas stared at it for a long second. His mouth opened a 1/4 inch. His eyes lifted to the man's face. They lifted to the L.T. Hartwell portrait on the wall. They came back to the watch. I watched it happen. I watched the boy's whole face change. The way a candle gets lit slow behind your eyes. He didn't say a word. He turned and walked, quick, into the back office hallway. The hallway with the staff photo wall, the one Tomas passed every single morning of every single shift. The one with a single faded archive picture, 8th from the left, of a dock crew from 1924, their boss in the middle, a salt and pepper-haired man with soft eyes and a watch on his right wrist. Hold on. Stop here with me a minute. I want to ask you something honest. Has there ever been a moment in your life where you saw something wrong happening, and you stayed quiet because the person doing it had power over you? If yes, do me a favor. Drop the words "I see you" in the comments. I read every single one of them. Not skimming. Reading. Because the next 4 minutes of this story belong to people who decided, all at once, that staying quiet wasn't going to work anymore. Okay, back in. Larry had decided he was done with the lobby. He wanted bigger. He wanted seats. Bring them. We'll do this properly. The ballroom is open. The members deserve to see how we handle people who push our hospitality. He turned and walked. Brock and Bradley flanked the family on 3 sides. Cordelia trailed. The family let themselves be walked. The mother kept her arm around the daughter's shoulders. The father kept his hands open at his sides. The ballroom doors swung wide. 63 people in evening dress. Round tables, white linen, centerpieces of Magnolia and Dusty Miller. The string quartet warming up on the small stage. A spotlight on a chair where the daughter was supposed to perform in 40 minutes. Larry walked up the side steps to the stage. He took the microphone off the stand. Ladies and gentlemen of the Hawthorne Cove community, apologies for the brief interruption. We have an unfortunate trespasser situation we'd like to resolve discreetly before the program begins. If you'll bear with us. He gestured to Brock to bring the family closer. The room got that uncomfortable quiet that wealthy rooms get when something gross is happening, but the dress code says you have to keep your napkin in your lap. Then a side door opened. Tomas walked in. He had something cradled in his arms. He was breathing hard. He was 26 years old, 4 years on the job, paid $18 an hour to park cars and carry luggage. He walked straight down the center aisle, past every member at every round table. He climbed the side steps to the stage. Larry covered the microphone with one hand. "Get off the stage right now." Tomas reached for the microphone. Larry yanked it back. I said off the stage. Tomas didn't try again. He just turned to face the room. He pointed at the father, standing down in front of the head table. He said it loud enough that everyone heard. "Sir, the watch on your right wrist. May I please ask you something?" The father did not move. He just nodded once. "There is a photograph in the staff hallway. Crew of 1924. The man in the middle is wearing that same watch, on the same wrist, with the same engraving. I have walked past that photograph 1,412 times, maybe more." The room rustled. "Sir, who is that man in the photograph?" The father reached up. He undid the clasp of the watch. He held it in his open palm. "That man is my great-grandfather, Cornelius Jefferson Ashford. He built this dock in 1924. He built the first wing of this hotel the year after." The string quartet stopped tuning. Larry's face did something I had not seen in 19 years. The smile fell off all at once. Not a flicker, a full collapse. I was still behind the front desk. I could see the stage through the open doors of the ballroom. I had a clear sight line. This was my moment. I had been standing on the marble floor of that lobby for 24 years. I knew every crack in the tile. I knew the squeak of the bottom drawer of my desk. I knew the weight of the key on my key ring that opened my coat closet at home. I had carried a roll of butcher paper home in my trunk 12 years ago. I had put a portrait in the back of a closet behind my late husband's golf bag. I had kept it because some part of me already knew. I lifted the phone behind the desk and called Tomas's cell. I asked him to hold the stage for 90 seconds. Then I did something I had never done in 24 years. I left the front desk unattended in the middle of a shift. I drove 4 blocks home. I opened my closet. I lifted the canvas out. I drove 4 blocks back. I came in through the loading dock and went up the stage steps from the side entrance. I unwrapped the butcher paper in front of 63 people in evening dress. It was a portrait. Big canvas. Older man. Salt and pepper hair. Soft eyes. The original dock and the original Hawthorne Cove behind him. No awnings yet. The brass plate at the bottom, scratched but readable. Cornelius J. Ashford, founder. 1924. You could hear 63 breaths catch at once, like a small wave breaking inside the room. I held the portrait up. "Mr. Whitlock, this came out of my coat closet this morning. Your father-in-law signed the memo to dispose of it in 2014. I never disposed of it. I am sorry I waited 12 years to bring it back out here." Larry's mouth opened. No sound came out. Then the main ballroom doors opened again. Hard this time. The doors hit the stoppers. A woman walked in, tall, navy blazer, hair still damp from sea spray. She had a leather folder under her arm. Her name was Patricia Sinclair, new board chair, sworn in 3 months ago. She had been on a sailboat 4 miles offshore when her phone buzzed with a photograph of a wristwatch and 3 words. She walked straight up the side stairs to the stage. She did not look at Larry. She set the leather folder on the small table beside the microphone stand. She opened it. She turned to face the 63 members. "Good morning. My name is Patricia Sinclair. I serve as chairwoman of the new board of Hawthorne Cove Holdings. As of 3 months ago, this past Tuesday, the controlling stake in this resort was sold by the Hartwell family estate, which had entered bankruptcy proceedings in late winter. The buyer was a private heritage trust. The acquisition closed at $340 million. The transition becomes effective today. We had planned to announce that tonight, at the gala." She paused. "We will make the announcement a little early." She turned to the father, still standing down on the ballroom floor in his old sneakers and his polo shirt, and his ball cap folded in his back pocket. "This is Mr. Roland Ashford. He chairs the Ashford Heritage Trust. He is also the great-grandson of Cornelius Jefferson Ashford, the founder of this hotel and this marina. In 1924, the man whose portrait Mrs. Caldwell just unwrapped on this stage. The man whose name was removed from the founder plate of this lobby in 1958 by Mr. L.T. Hartwell II. The silence in that ballroom is something I am still trying to describe. It was not the silence of a room embarrassed. It was the silence of a room where every single person was, all at once, recalculating 30 years of their own opinions. Mr. Ashford walked slowly up the side steps to the stage. He took the microphone from Tomas. He held it for a long second. He looked at the portrait of his great-grandfather. He looked at Larry. Then he looked at the room. My great-grandfather built this dock the year my grandfather was born. He had been turned away from every other resort on this coastline. So he saved 7 years of railroad porter wages, and he built his own. The Hartwell family took out a loan in 1957 that they could not repay. My great-grandfather sold them a controlling share to keep this place open. 1958, they took his portrait off the wall. They took his name off the founder plate. They told the kitchen staff to use the back entrance. My grandfather drove past this dock for the rest of his life and did not stop here once. He turned to Larry. Mr. Whitlock, you poured liquor on 7 years of my daughter's compositions 10 minutes ago. You smiled. You said the word, whoops. I have heard family stories about that exact word. The word a Hartwell used in 1958 when a contract page went missing from a renewal file. I think your generation has used the word whoops for too long. Larry tried to speak. Nothing came out. Mr. Ashford turned to Patricia. Madam Chairwoman, I would like to defer all personnel decisions to the board. Please proceed. He handed the microphone back. He walked off the stage. He took his wife's hand. He stood beside his daughter. Patricia did not waste time. As of this minute, Mr. Lawrence Whitlock is terminated for cause. 11 recorded conduct violations in approximately 8 minutes, witnessed by 63 members and recorded on 3 cameras in the lobby and 1 live broadcast from a member's personal phone. Security will escort Mr. Whitlock to his office for personal items, then off the property. She glanced at Cordelia. Miss Vance, the audit committee will be reviewing all membership applications from the last 11 years. We have reason to believe several were processed using a format that does not appear in our archive templates. You are suspended pending that review, effective now. Cordelia's lipstick went very still. Mr. Bradley Whitlock, the complaints file on you was 31 pages this morning. Suspended pending review. You will leave with your father, Mr. Doyle. You placed your hand on a guest without consent. The county sheriff's office will be in touch today. Your security license is under review. Step back from this party right now. Brock stepped back. Patricia walked to the front of the stage. She found Lorraine Van Buren in the 3rd row. Lorraine's phone was, somehow, still streaming live. Her hands had stopped moving 5 minutes ago. The phone was still pointed at the stage. The red dot was still on. Miss Van Buren, I would suggest you stop the broadcast and save the file. I imagine several attorneys will be requesting it in the coming weeks. Some of them ours, some of them not. Lorraine fumbled. The light went out. The room was, for a long beat, completely silent. Then someone at table 4 started clapping. A woman of maybe 70, white hair, pearls. She just kept clapping, slow at first, steady. Then table 7 joined. Then table 2, then most of them. Larry walked off the stage and out the side door without ever lifting his eyes off his shoes. Bradley walked behind him. The daughter walked very slowly to the spotlight chair at the center of the stage. She did not have her sheet music anymore. The vermouth had eaten the ink. The pages were curled in her mother's tote bag. She sat down. She lifted the cello between her knees. She tightened the bow. She closed her eyes. She played the first measure she had written when she was 12 years old, in a bedroom in Atlanta, the first composition she had ever finished. She had played it 10,000 times. The notes were, in fact, still in her head. I want to tell you, 63 adults at 63 tables stopped breathing for the duration of that piece. The dishwashers stopped running. The valets came in from the front and stood in the doorway. The bartender stood with one hand on the gin bottle. When she finished, no one applauded for a long moment. Then everyone did. 6 months later, the Hawthorne Cove Resort and Marina was renamed. The new name is the Hawthorne Cove at Ashford Bay. The brass plate in the lobby reads Cornelius J. Ashford, founder, 1924. The original portrait hangs in the original spot. The frame was restored by a conservator out of Philadelphia. The whitewash painting of L.T. Hartwell is in a small archive room down the hall, with a card next to it that tells the truth. Below the founder plate, there is a smaller bronze plaque. It reads, "For 100 years, this place stood on a name they erased. Never again." The federal civil rights investigation into Mr. Whitlock's 19-year tenure took 11 months. They went through 31 filed complaints, plus a small spiral notebook with 24 years of small handwriting that I handed over voluntarily. They found a documented pattern. Membership applications from families of color rejected for cosmetic reasons. Salary disparities for staff of color across the entire payroll. a separate break room schedule that ended in 1994 but was, in casual practice, still being honored. The civil settlement was $2,400,000. Some of it went to former staff who had been pushed out. Some of it went to a music scholarship in the name of Cornelius Jefferson Ashford. The first class of recipients is 11 kids. 8 of them are starting cello. Mr. Whitlock received a suspended sentence and a personal civil judgment. He has not worked in hospitality since. Bradley Whitlock left the field. Brock Doyle pled guilty to unwanted contact and surrendered his security license. Cordelia Vance and Lorraine Van Buren settled quietly. Lorraine's live stream is now Exhibit A in 3 civil actions. Mr. Ashford asked me to lunch about a month after the gala. He asked me to take the general manager job. I said no the first time. I said yes the second time, after his wife called me at home one evening. Dorothy, I have been watching you from the inside for 6 months. You have been running this place from the wrong side of the counter. It is time the front door said your name. Tomas Reyes runs the Heritage Wing now. He restored the original staff hallway photographs. He gives a 15-minute tour every Sunday afternoon, free to the public. The original founder photograph is the 3rd frame from the left in the main hallway. The watch is in a glass case below it. Mr. Ashford donated it. The grounds are open to the surrounding community every Sunday. No charge. Anyone can walk the dock. Anyone can sit on the porch. Okay, I want to be real with you for a second. The Ashfords had a watch. They had a portrait. They had $340 million and a private trust and a board chair who would turn a sailboat around for them. Most people who get told they do not belong somewhere do not have any of that. Most people just have a long drive home and a question that sits on their chest for 3 weeks. The hero of this story is not Mr. Roland Ashford. He is a fine man and he carried himself with dignity, but he had a watch on his wrist and an entire trust behind him. The hero of this story is Tomas Reyes, a 26-year-old valet paid $18 an hour, who noticed a watch and walked up a set of stage steps he was not invited to walk up. The hero of this story is a 19-year-old young woman who said one quiet sentence into a hostile room while her composition pages were still bleeding ink. She kept her notes in her head. And the hero of this story, if I am being honest, is a version of me that took 24 years to show up. The version of me that brought a portrait home in a butcher paper roll in 2014, even though I had no idea what I would ever do with it. There is an argument I keep seeing in the comments on stories like this one. People ask, why did Mr. Ashford stand there for 8 whole minutes and let his daughter get humiliated before he stepped in? Could he not have ended it sooner? I have thought about that question a lot. He told me later that he had to know, not the brochure version, the real version. He could have ended it at minute 1. The story he needed to tell at his gala would have been different. So would the investigation. So would the scholarship fund. But maybe that is a luxury too, the luxury to test a room. Drop your honest answer in the comments. I will read them. The thoughtful ones I will share. Here is the last thing I want to leave you with. When I think back on that Saturday morning, the moment I cannot stop replaying is not Mr. Ashford speaking, not Patricia announcing, not Larry's smile falling. It is Tomas, walking down the center aisle of that ballroom with a portrait he had never seen, an idea he had never voiced, a job he was sure he was about to lose, and a face that said he had decided, in the back hallway, that he was done watching. He did not have a trust fund. He did not have a watch. He had nothing in his hand but a guess. That is the move. That is the one I want you to remember. If a thing wrong is happening near you, and you are the one with the least power in the room, the bravest thing you can do is not stay still. It is to take one step you were not invited to take, and then another, and then say the small, true sentence in your head out loud. You will be scared. Your hands will shake. Mine still do. Take the step anyway. I will see you next Saturday morning.